welcome to the Dr. DC podcast. My name is Colin. Next to me is the doctor himself. Here we go.
Hello.
And, as always, we are joined by our producer, Richard.
Oh.
God damn it.
No, social America. Each week we talk about the weird and wonderful world of DC comics and movies while fielding questions from listeners like you.
While on the third day of DocMas, the doctor gave to me 3 Fernet Brancas, 2 bad impressions, and some comics books from DC. This is getting a little sloppy, boys.
Episode 3.
And in news, Shazam adds Jack Dylan Grazer?
Yeah.
Grazier? In potential key role.
Colin, you got drunk like right now, didn't you?
No, I didn't.
So Jack Dylan Grazer,
names.
he was one of the kids in It. He was the, he's like the hypochondriac one.
Oh, okay. That kid's awful.
Yeah, and he just got cast as Freddie Freeman.
I love that actor, though. I feel like he's such a great character. Like,
totally. And Freddie Freeman, I mean, who knows if the Shazam movie will actually go to this place, but Freddie Freeman becomes Shazam Jr. He's like the sidekick. So I think that's pretty cool. I do love that actor, though. I loved him in It. I thought he was hilarious.
Are they just supposed to be like kind of like best friends? That kind of the vibe?
Well, I mean, you could play it a couple of different ways. In the New 52, they were both like in the same foster home. But I think they were just buddies in like the old like golden age kind of.
Because I feel like he would be a great character to be his sort of like best friend who's like in on the thing, and then like maybe the next movie he gets to be.
But Freddie Freeman is the one who gets like injured and like kind of crippled when Captain Nazi is fighting Captain Marvel back then.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, so he could be Shazam Jr. I don't know if the movie will go all the way to sidekick territory in the first one, but maybe if that's a franchise,
not on the first date.
Well. Yeah, yeah, gotta buy dinner first. Yeah,
that's awesome.
But yeah, so like I said, I loved him in It. I thought he was hilarious, and I think he'd bring like a fun energy to that movie
Because he's kind of like sarcastic and frantic.
Yeah, that's
So
a good way
you
to describe it. Actually, yeah.
Yeah, you loved him in what movie?
It.
What movie?
It.
What movie's that?
The movie about the clown.
I know it, but what movie?
Yeah. Who's on first?
Yeah, exactly. In It. What's that?
Don't you get it?
So, we're going to go to questions on
Edit
Facebook. Adam Upper asks, other than the already slated heroes, which character do you think they'd add to the DCEU movie roster after Green Lantern is brought in?
Also, drink.
Yeah. So
Twice, actually, because the edit point.
Right. So if we're going to try and line up like another DC movie that hasn't been like announced or pseudo announced, like who would I want to get in there? I think I might have said this before. I want a Green Arrow Black Canary movie. Like the two of them partnered up.
I love the way you said that was like a tantrum little like toddler in the grocery store. Like,
I want it.
I want cheesies. I want Snapple.
I know I've said it before. How is it not happening?
Doctor, I told you to stop putting those comics in the bag.
I want them. You just got a little bit of like a look into my life.
Your poor wife.
I just all comic books. Yeah, we can't pay our rent this month though.
It's okay. Comic books can cover your head. No, not those ones.
No, those are too valuable. Yeah, definitely Green Arrow, Black Canary. That's one I'd like to see. I know Colin wants Ragman, but Colin also wants to be Ragman. #, Colin for Ragman. Still no action.
No action.
Weird.
All.
It's
That's
weird.
Okay. That's fine. It's cool.
There must be some settings I have on Twitter.
If you could describe ambivalence as resounding, that's been the reaction to
an overwhelming amount of meh.
Enthusiastic meh.
It's like I would almost prefer it if people hated the idea.
Yeah, isn't it worse?
At least then they would feel something.
They're acknowledging it.
They would feel.
They've acknowledged it even a little bit.
But beyond all of that, I mean, like Green Lantern, the movie is going to be like Green Lantern Corps. It's going to be about more than one of the characters, and I think it'll probably take place more in space than on Earth. But I I'd love to see a Legion of Superheroes movie. Just go straight up science fiction. It's in the future. They have weird powers. I mean, it almost doesn't even have to fit the mold of superhero anymore, because what the 31st century is so foreign.
In the 31st century,
Just make just spaceships and like aliens and things like that. Like that would be a cool movie.
Go like 1960s version of the future.
Yeah. Oh, you know what? That would be. I mean, that's perfect for the Legion anyway.
Right?
But like, that would be a ton of fun. I would love to see that sort of thing. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's my answer. Do you guys have like anything for this one? Is there like a particular like character you'd want to like legitimately see get like a feature film?
Swamp Thing.
Oh, okay, yeah. Let's do that one again.
I feel like
Properly.
I feel like now you could do such like an R-rated Swamp Thing, like with like some giant corporation coming into like a forest, like kind of like Fern Gully, but like for adults.
Yeah. Well, and the R thing could lean it like further into that like horror genre.
Avatar.
Yeah, and you obviously get Guillermo del Toro to direct it.
Well, I mean, if only we could, but like that whole Justice League Dark thing already collapsed that he was with. But yeah.
But you could just instead.
I would love that though. Yeah.
Fuck, that would be good.
Avatar of the Green. We're looking out for you. Colin, anything other than Ragnar?
Is that his name right now? I don't even know.
I'm not sure.
I had one in my head, and now it's gone on me. And
oh, really?
That really sucks.
Well, if you think of it, let us know.
Yeah. We're going to jump over to Twitter.
Let's do it.
Kyle Clark asks, who would you pair to write and draw a Dr. Fate / Swamp Thing miniseries, and why is it Jeff Lemire?
Oh, fucking right. So
I love these questions that answer them in the question.
That's one. That's very Kyle. Two. That's my boy for pushing Jeff Lemire. I love him so much.
I do too.
First of all, he's actually from my hometown.
Yeah, Canadian boy.
Yeah, and he one of his first books that he wrote was called Essex County.
Yeah,
which is a county that I was born in, and it's an amazing book. But I mean, when you like don't even look at his like actual superhero stuff, his just like general work that he's done has been really, really amazing.
Well, he did Secret Path with Gord Downey, which is all about like the residential school system in Canada, and it's like beautiful work. Yeah.
The art is always amazing in all of his books, too.
Yeah, totally. And Jeff Lemire did, like, the critically acclaimed New 52 Animal Man series. And it's appropriate that Kyle throws him in the ring for Swamp Thing because Animal Man and Swamp Thing in the New 52 had a lot of connection and crossover. Swamp Thing is the avatar of the green. Animal Man is the avatar of the red, which is the morphogenetic field or the collective consciousness of all animal life. Nice. So I definitely would want Jeff Lemire on that series, but I actually think I'd only want him on to draw. I not that I don't like him as a writer, because I do. I think he's great. And I liked his Justice League United when they relocated to Canada to like Moose Factory or something like that. I liked that, but I think I'd want his art style because it's got that kind of sort of visceral, scratchy thing.
It's also this sort of like watercolory sort of vibe, and it's something you don't see in comics ever.
No, it's not. It's like crude in like a good way. Like Dark Knight Strikes Again is like crude, like it was shitty and like Frank Miller didn't finish it. but
this is very like stylistically
it
crude.
is, yeah, absolutely. So I definitely want him to draw a Dr. Fate Swamp Thing. I think that's an interesting pairing too.
Oh,
those
yeah.
two characters. But who would I want to write it? I think I'd actually want, what's his name? J.M. de Matthias. I'm probably pronouncing his name incorrectly, but he wrote like the New 52 Batwoman series. And he tends to stay in that maybe a little more mystical, a little darker, almost on the verge of horror kind of realm. And I think that would fit this pretty well. So if he and Jeff Lemire like teamed up to do that series, I think that would be a pretty like kick-ass combo.
Oh, yeah. Have you ever read his Trillium book?
Sorry, Jeff Lemire?
Yeah.
No, I haven't.
No, it's a sci-fi book that he did that's like super, it's really out there, but
yeah,
it's definitely something I almost picked up when I was in Vancouver the other day.
Yeah, I mean, like, I think he's like found his footing a bit too, because I think he wrote a bit of Justice League Dark in the New 52, but it wasn't necessarily as well received. But I think that was his first time on like a team book where you have to like balance all the different characters, give them all like appropriate weight in the story. His solo like writing stuff was very, very strong. Like Animal Man is incredible from start to finish. But then he went back to Justice League United, and I really liked his work on that. I thought it was great. So I would definitely be, I'd be up for that. Yeah, that's an interesting one.
So this, I don't know if it's a question or a statement from Phoenix Person
Okay.
on Twitter. It says, Ragman greater than Sagman? Question mark?
That feels like a question for you, Colin.
I don't know about Sagman.
Also, tricky work there, Adam, getting in twice in one episode.
Ooh, called him out. Boom. Drink.
That's 2 drinks.
Wow. 3 episodes in, you can't stop hitting that
I
thing.
really
Yeah. Well, Colin, Ragman greater than Sagman?
I don't know who Sagman is.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I'm like...
Who the fuck is Sagman?
I actually don't know who Sagman
Yeah,
is.
so there you go. Ragman is better
I think
than
Ragman
Sagman.
is better just by virtue of existing.
Yeah. Actually, and you know what, Phoenix Person on Twitter, hit us up. Explain yourself and your question. who is Sagman?
Unless you're talking about the city of Sagman, which is populated by the Kurds, Armenians, and the Turks prior to the Armenian genocide.
Boom.
It gained more prominence as a Kurdish chiefdom in the 16th century. There are other historic sites in the nearby area.
Do you know what? You're making up for hitting the thing with some quality producing there.
That's what I'm here for.
So yes, Ragman is better than a whole city.
Unless you're Armenian, like me.
Yeah, no one cares.
Let's rephrase the question then.
Why is Ragman so great? Because he is.
What a nuanced answer that was. I was actually going to say...
People believe in God, so get over it. And there's people who think that the Earth is flat. Ragman is amazing. End of question.
I'm not saying
Do
that
your
it's,
fucking research.
I'm not saying that it's the flimsiest answer. I'm just saying that, like, in terms of podcast fodder where we have a conversation, it's not great.
You know how I do these things. I'm cut and dry. I get to the point.
You know what? Maybe he actually was the This Is Rad podcast Mac Weldon character they created called Sack Weldon. And in that case, he's the best.
I know about Mac Weldon's from listening to High and Mighty with John Gabris.
Well,
he will not stop extolling their virtues.
Well, This Is Rad made a character called Sack Weldon, who's an animorph set of balls, who moves around by grabbing each testicle and moving around.
Oh my god!
Wow, and Mac Weldon's not just using this in general for the.
I right?
So we got an email from Dave Rossi.
Let's do it.
And Dave, we're sorry if your kid heard swear words.
Wait, don't we have to go away for a moment?
Oh, should we? I guess we should.
Dr. DC will be back after this quick break. This episode of the Dr. DC podcast is brought to you thanks to our sponsor, Great Lakes Grooming Co. Honestly, I've been using this product actually for a really, really long time. I, as well, have a very large beard, same as the doctor. I think mine actually might be a little bit bigger. So my favorite products are, first of all, that beard oil. I've been using it for a really long time. I've actually not had to use cologne because of it. I actually stopped using cologne because it was just, that smell of that beard oil is amazing. I also have a very rough and dry beard usually, so this has been making it super smooth. And then I have to say that my second favorite product is that Noble Selves hair styling cream. That sort of, it's a medium light holding, which is really nice. It's hard to find a good holding cream for your hair. I've used waxes and gels and sprays and all that stuff, and it never really works. This stuff makes my hair look amazing. It holds for multiple days on end for people like me who don't like to shower. It's honestly a great product. So I've been super happy with it so far. I think you guys will be too. Great Lakes Grooming is meant to be easy and ready to use, rain or shine. All their products are purposely designed and environmentally responsible, handmade in Canada, ready for adventure wherever one may find themselves. And lucky for you listeners, you get 10% off on the Great Lakes Grooming's regular price products by going to www.greatlakesgrooming.com and using the promo code DRDCpodcast. That's right. www.greatlakesgrooming.com, promo code Dr. DC Podcast. Now, back to the show.
All right, now we're back, Colin. Now let's go to email.
Now it's go time. Now it's email time.
You never read.
I like to just
jump to the next.
He's the one that shits on it. He's like, James Bond wasn't blonde in the novel. And then he doesn't freaking read the sheet.
Well, it's not like this is literary genius over here. Anyways. So we got an email
How
from
would you
David
know you haven't
Rossi.
read it?
That's right.
I skimmed it. I've got eidetic memory. I can just breeze through this shit. Dave Rossi asks, do each of you have a go-to book that is your definitive favorite story? You know, you're on a desert island and have only one DC book to read. What is that go-to?
Well, I guess yours, Richard, has to be Jeff Loeb, Tim Sale, something.
Oh, yeah, you're goddamn right in this.
Yep.
Yeah, you know what? I'll keep going back to it, and we'll probably do a whole fucking episode on it at some point. But Superman for All Seasons. I love the melancholy feel of that. The artwork is amazing. You get a version of Clark Kent, really. Rather than Superman. Through that whole episode, it's really about his life on the farm and going home and things like that. That book is amazing and one of my favorites. So that's one that I could definitely like just keep reading. And I think even if you aren't necessarily a comic book fan, but you are sort of good storytelling and artwork, I think that's a book that you can kind of give to anybody and they can at least appreciate it in some facet or another. So definitely Superman for All Seasons, without a doubt. That and The Killing Joke. I mean, those two books, I mean, those are pieces of art. Those are good storytelling. Even someone who doesn't give the credit to comic books that it deserves, we can give them that, and I think it would at least make them think twice.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I think for me, yeah, it's hard to distill it down. There's so many that I would want to throw in there, but you know, I can only pick one. I think Superman Red Sun would be up there. That's the one where instead of crash landing in Kansas, he crash lands in Soviet, like Czechoslovakia, and then he's raised under the Soviet Union. He's not evil, but he is raised under different principles, and that whole world sort of veers to a new direction because of it. And that's a really fascinating story. I think it's really beautifully done. And it's kind of almost like cyclical in a way. That's a book that I would bring with me, like my Desert Island DC book. That or, I know it's like really modern, but I really love Blackest Night. I mean, I read Blackest Night probably like once a month. I just enjoy.
Wow, really?
I just enjoy reading it. I think it's so interesting. You get like
once a month?
Probably.
Wow.
Like, just before I go to bed, I'll just read Blackest Night.
It's like 2 minutes to read a comic book.
Well, but Blackest Night's a trade. It's like 8 comic books
So
together.
it takes like 6 minutes to read then.
Yeah, closer. Yeah.
Sure. Easy there, Moby Dick.
It's probably...
Call me.
Because you listen to a lot of Moby and jerked off.
Yeah.
All the time. I shaved my head for a while there.
To the left side. Moby?
Yeah, often.
So yeah, Superman Red Sun, Blackest Night, I think would be the one of those two I would take. Colin, I know you haven't read too much. Is there one you would take with you?
Okay, so if we're talking like an actual book that I would take on a
Comic books are real books.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, fair enough. So I would take Killing Joke. I really like it a lot. Yeah. But if I was going to take an actual book, I would take The Prophet by Khalil Gibran. That is like probably one of the most important books in my life.
Is that like
nerd?
It's a book written by a philosopher,
right?
And it just like captures every single little aspect of life. And I think
if that book by the philosopher was a comic book, what comic book would it be? Help me out here.
It wouldn't. It wouldn't
be Superman for All Seasons.
Actually, you know what? It would be Aquaman.
Well, you've definitely got my interest now.
Yeah, the Prophet would probably fall under Aquaman because he comes on a boat to this island, and then he like lives his life.
Water,
and these people ask him of everything, of life and children and love and like all these different wonderful things, and it's on his last day before he leaves out to sea to leave again, which essentially is like the coming and going of life, right? So I do kind of see some Aquaman in there.
That sounds pretty amazing. Damn it, am I into books now? How did this happen?
I'll lend you my copy. It's really, really,
you
really,
fucking
really
dorks. Comic books forever.
Sorry. Dave Rossi, you can get your kid or your nephew or whatever.
We don't know if they're related.
I think they are.
Just because their last name's Rossi each. We don't know.
I don't know too many 8-year-olds that are running their own email.
I hope you don't know too many 8-year-olds.
Hey,
What if I work for...
Let's go to the next
What
question.
if I work for Big Brothers?
Or that.
that restraining order was put in for a reason.
That has never happened. Don't be a dick.
Not since the last time.
Chad Bokelman. Jeff Johns did quite a bit with characters like Star Sapphire, Black Hand, Sinestro, Hector Hammond. Is that Albert Hammond's brother? Etc.
It's actually the keyboard guy.
Right, Albert Hammond. What characters from the Silver Age Green Lantern Rouge's gallery would you bring back into the light and make a big deal of? How would you do it?
If
You have an idea. Example, the Shark, Sonar, Dr. Polaris, the Tattooed Man, Evil Star, etc.
Yeah.
The Tattooed Man, I feel like I just like a lot of people I know.
So the Tattooed Man is an interesting character. And actually the Tattooed Man got like a pretty like decent sized storyline during Final Crisis.
Yeah, he did.
But basically the Tattooed Man's powers is that he has
Tattoos?
sorry, there are different versions of the Tattooed Man. The one in Final Crisis is not the Silver Age one. But his power was basically that he has his tattoos, he puts them on via this magical process called sin grafting, where you commit a crime.
Sin grafting? Like
Sin grafting.
like skin grafting?
Yeah. But it's with sin, yeah.
Hence tattoo. Yeah.
Yeah. But it gives him the ability to like magically manipulate his tattoos. Like if he has a tattoo of a dragon, he can make the dragon like come to life off his tattoo and like control it and stuff like that.
That's pretty neat.
Yeah. And he had a big arc during Final Crisis. But I was thinking about this a little bit, and I think there's an interesting... Chad put both Dr. Polaris and Evil Star on this list. Both of these are characters that you may not have heard of. But what's interesting about... So Dr. Polaris has, like, magnetism powers. Evil Star has... he's, like, made immortal by this device called the Star Band that draws its power from, like, the energy of stars. But it turns him evil. He isn't evil, but the taking on that energy makes him evil. But what's interesting about both of them is they're both actually like good people who go evil because of their powers. Evil Star, like I said, it's because of that Star Band. That's what does it to him. For Dr. Polaris, he has like a split personality disorder. And when he like accesses his powers, it sort of flips him into Dr. Polaris. They kind of play with this idea a bit actually right now on The Flash on TV. That's how they're treating Killer Frost.
Oh, really?
Like they're two different characters and she can flip between them.
Oh.
Almost like a Banner Hulk kind of thing.
Jekyll Hyde.
Yeah, precisely. But that's like both Dr. Polaris and Evil Star have an element of that. So I think if I was going to bring one of them back, I might try and bring both of them back as part of the same story and really like explore that. Because the one is Evil Star doesn't have a split personality, but he's turned evil by his device. Dr. Polaris desperately like wants to not be evil, but the use of his powers will flip him that way. So I think I don't know what the context of that story would be, but I think it'd be interesting to see both of them in there. They're two like examples of like good people driven bad by their powers, which Hal Jordan can relate to. Even though like an episode or two ago, I just said he wasn't responsible, but now I'm throwing serious shade. You know what? They brought Sonar back recently in a very shitty story. It was while Hal Jordan didn't have a ring, but he was using this old fashioned like Green Lantern gauntlet. And they brought Sonar back and it wasn't like a great story. He seems like kind of like a shitty villain in the modern age. Like, what's a guy with like sound wave powers gonna do to a Green Lantern? Like,
that's true.
Knock out his Wi-Fi signal like my microwave.
Well, but I mean, like as a writer, you can always come up with some sort of thing like, oh, you're interfering with the ring.
I like make popcorn. I have to press pause on my Netflix.
Really?
Yeah.
Wait, really?
Yeah, I think my microwave might be killing me though.
I feel like you should get rid of that.
If the microwaves are getting out of the microwave, that's a problem. You're supposed to close the door when you start it. You know that, right?
Yeah, yeah.
This explains a lot.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, so Sonar kind of had his shot, and I didn't think it went very well. Tattooed Man, I'd be interested to see like a version that maybe picks up after what happened to him during Final Crisis, which I think is reasonable because DC Metal kind of feels like it picks up after Final Crisis. But yeah, Evil Star, Dr. Polaris, I would put them together in a story, I think. Yeah.
Just make sure you don't jump over that first guy.
The shark?
You don't want to jump the
Would hate to do that.
Hence the entire thing we're doing this year.
Hey! It's the Fonz who jumped the shark.
Yeah, no, I know. Yeah.
Arthur Fonzarelli.
Yeah.
Henry Winkler.
Yeah, no. Motorcycle
Stop it.
jump.
Both of you, enough.
Pool of sharks.
God, I have to be the adult sometimes. Well, if you'd like to ask us more questions or compliment us or pat us on the back for how awesome we are, you can hit us up on Facebook at
Dr. DC Podcast.
over at Twitter,
At Dr. DC.
on our email.
DrDCPodcast@gmail.com.
Don't ask questions, but heart us on Instagram at.
Dr. DC Podcast.
You hit us up on our website.
DrDCPodcast.com or .ca.
Don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe on iTunes and everywhere that you can tunes.
That's right.
Yeah, go to our email.
Wherever you tunes.
Go to our email and ask us questions there. And sometimes the doctor will just respond to you directly. Sometimes it'll end up on an episode.
Yeah.
You can do that at
DrDCPodcast@gmail.com.
That's right. That's 3 episodes.
Stuck the
folks.
landing. Stuck the landing.
You got stuck on the landing?
Yeah, that's coming.
Okay.
Well, some kind of sign off.
Adios.
I'm not drunk. You're drunk.
Just like that.
When I'm drunk, you're drunk.
Just like that.
That's not how that works.
Aquaman, all the superheroes. They always fight for what is right. Live with danger and adventure.